Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Oh, I must have pushed a weird button because it broke for a minute, but I fixed it, I think. Whoops. Sometimes you push weird buttons and things get broken. Yeah, I don't know what is going on today with this thing, but we shall see what happens. Whoa! My preview over there is looking insane, but it's Friday. Shall see what happens here. I think it's working now, sort of. I don't know. It's flashing over there like crazy. And it's doing some weird stuff over that way. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's Monday, and I am back. I am back home from before. Happy to say that I made it home with relatively unscathed, right? Why is this preview over here like going bonkers? I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I'm sure you guys will let me know if things are working properly or not, and we'll just continue along. I got to get the pop-out chat. That closed also. I'm not sure what happened, but when I initialized the stream before, apparently it like broadcast for like a second and then just decided to end. So I had to restart it, so sorry about that. But, you know, that's life sometimes. It's life sometimes when you're watching things on the internet. Maybe they don't work exactly how they're supposed to, and sometimes they do. Big D Smoke says, feels like a Monday or a Tuesday. I agree. It totally feels like a Monday or a Tuesday right now. And I don't know why this thing up here is just going bonkers. It keeps like jumping around and turning on and off, but I'm going to think of what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this overlay over top of that so I don't even have to see that anymore. There we go. But yeah, it definitely does feel like a Monday over here on my end. It does not feel like Friday. It does not feel like I've had the whole week. Mainly because I haven't had the whole week. Landed back here. So I went out to the Netherlands for the Vivarium convention, and never fear, everybody, I will be releasing a bunch of videos from being out in the Netherlands and stuff, so I'm not going to drag on too long about it on the live show here, but I will say it was a fantastic trip. We had a few hiccups. There were some bumps in the road and things that I had to deal with, but mainly that was just coming home. Coming home was a slight issue. I definitely, I'll probably get into that in a little bit. I don't want to get into it right here at the beginning of the show. But the title of the show is a milestone marker in my life, and as you can see from the thumbnail, while I was in the Netherlands, I got 2,000 days sober. 2,000 consecutive days sober while I was in the Netherlands. And, you know, I did have to realize that, like, I was on a trip because of basically the people on YouTube that follow this channel that, like, are on the Patreon, that have become members and that kind of stuff. That's basically why I was on that trip. I wasn't on that trip because of really any other reason. It really just comes down to you guys have supported this channel. You've supported being able to do these projects, like go to conventions and stuff like that. And I do hope in the future to have much larger, more ambitious projects. And yeah, I do look forward to trying to do that. I also look forward to just trying to do what I'm trying to do here, which is kind of help people with their fish tanks, do things that people want to do, or do things that would help people do what they want to do. There we go. I was missing some words there. And you know, that's ultimately the goal here, just kind of help people out and share some of the stuff that I really like to do as far as the aquarium hobby goes, and amongst other things. You guys know that this long format show on here, I do talk about some things from time to time that don't really have anything to do with exactly fish tanks per se, specifically, or any of that kind of stuff. And yeah, that's kind of the reason I like to do this long format show, to be able to talk about some other things that could be going on in the world. And I do take time to engage with some of those things sometimes. So if a long format show isn't for you and it's not something that you want to be listening to, I would click out of here right now, because this is a long format show. And yes, I will typically answer questions from the chat and things like that. But it's a long format show, and I like to log in here and do this thing that I like to do. I do have video segments and that kind of stuff, but all of that stuff boils down to all the people that have supported this. Realistically, we have like 250 people on Patreon right now supporting, and I just would not be possible without that kind of stuff. And I guess it's kind of a double-edged sword if you say that, like, hey, it wouldn't be possible without people on Patreon, and it's like, well, maybe people on Patreon don't like this, and they would like to take it away. Well, hey, sometimes you got to sometimes you just got to take the sometimes you got to take the good with the bad. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's life. I've had mostly positive comments from the people that have left the Patreon. It obviously has an ebb and flow type thing, but more often than not, it's people that are just like, oh man, I just can't afford the $2 a month, and I'm really strapped. And by the way, I never have hard feelings towards somebody that, if you can't afford $2 a month, don't be giving me $2 a month to be making fish tank shows and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. Now, I know that there's a lot of people out there that would like to overly aggrandize fish tanks. They would like to put them up on a pedestal. They would like to put their hobby up on a pedestal for being responsible for all of the good things in their life and all of the good things that are going on in their life. I'm very appreciative of the fish tank doing aquariums, doing aquascaping, the hobby of having a aquarium, fish tank, whatever you want to call it, and being able to have the luxury to have that in my life. I do not think that fish tanks are responsible for all of the good things in my life. I think that my sobriety is currently the far and away front runner of being able to have good things in my life. So those of you out there that are involved in some kind of program, whatever it could be, as far as being sobriety and all that kind of stuff, and you guys would know that, like, my sobriety comes first, and I do realize that, like, I've recently had some interactions with people that have wanted me to kind of, I guess, sidestep my morality, as far as, possible sponsorships or collaborations or that kind of stuff with certain companies and entities and things that I heavily disagree with. And, the reality is that a big part of that stems from the fact that I am sober and I do have things that are more important in my life than just making a dollar. And hopefully, and just becoming like, I'll become world famous, and then I'll be able to, then I'll be able to have morals. The idea is that, like, you don't need to be Bill Gates in order to, like, donate to charity or volunteer some of your time to help people out, or reestablish some of your presence in the world, as far as, like, what your message is, what you're about, that kind of stuff. You don't need to become Bill Gates in order to reevaluate those situations in your life that may or may not be detrimental. And as Don Gallagher that says there, I wouldn't have tanks if I wasn't sober. I had tanks when I was not sober, that's for sure. So I don't think that I could fall into that category personally, but I could definitely say that my tanks were essential to finding some of my time into something that I find more creative and enjoyable than spending my time doing some other hobby, I guess, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? I don't know. I don't know if that thought really came out very well or if it makes sense. But I had fish tanks before. It was something that I got into when I wasn't sober, like got back into, and then had them for years and years and years before I got sober. You know, I think one of the big catalysts for me getting sober was just, you know, being somebody that was like, you know what, I'm spending so much time doing what I'm doing, and it's not working as far as like, you know, an overall good feeling about my life and like where I was putting my energy and stuff like that. And I got to a point, and I had a discussion with somebody that I hadn't spoken to in quite a few years at the time, and he mentioned to me that, you know, he'd gotten sober and that was the thing that he was doing, and I was like, what is that all about? And he was like, well, you know, is that something that you're thinking about? And I was like, well, I don't think it's something I'm thinking about, but I know that my life's a disaster. And I will say that that guy got into his car and drove at a very inconvenient time, very far, and brought me what is commonly referred to as, and I'll say it with air quotes around it, the big book, which is essentially like the handbook that you get for if you decide to go into Alcoholics Anonymous. And he brought me the study version. So it actually has like a page of text and a page of like line paper on the other side. So opposite each page. And he was like, well, this is the copy that I have. I know, and he knows that I'm somebody that participates in active reading if I'm paying attention to something. Like I don't do active reading if I'm just reading a story or something like that. But generally, if I'm reading science paper or something along those lines, I will actively read, take notes on what I'm reading and what I could be working on, or things that I find interesting about it, or things to look up later to find, you know, cross reference and that kind of stuff. Anyhow, so he brought that book and he said, read this thing, and if it makes any sense to you, let me know what you think. So I can't remember how many pages it is, but it's like 100 pages long. It's small. It's not that big of a book. And I think as somebody out there that would be in the program would be super pissed. I don't know how many pages it is because I know how many people constantly talk about it, and it's just having a brain fart right now. But so I read that, and then I was like, okay, yeah, I see some similarities here for sure. There's definitely some issues I got going on. And then it was like, off went to a meeting and started working out at meetings and going to a psychiatrist and stuff like that. And, you know, that's the thing that eventually, that's what put it over the hump for me, because it was like, man, I got to make some changes and do a thing that I got to do. And these are some people that could help me do it and give me some advice along the way as to what the steps are and stuff like that. And, you know, long story short, eventually I met Victoria. We have a lovely daughter now, Olivia, who, by the way, is sick again. So I got home from Europe. Baby is sick again. And Victoria is sick also. So Victoria has what the doctors thought was the flu. Not the flu. You know, turns out she got the swab. Must be just some kind of virus that's sort of like the flu, but it's not. I should probably tell the story about how I got home from Europe, because it kind of applies. Now, when was I supposed to land here? Tuesday. I was supposed to land here Tuesday morning. Now, I was flying home on Delta, and apparently the Amsterdam airport has some kind of new crazy security system for checked bags at the Amsterdam airport. And if anybody has been to a lot of airports, this is one of those automated bag check things where you walk up to the machine, you scan your boarding pass, and then it like prints out the stuff. You stick it to your bag, you put it in this cage, close the cage, and then you're like, send the bag, and then it like, whoop, flumps the bag over, and hopefully goes where it's going. I was there a full 90. Well, we were there 110 minutes before the flight left. Took us 10 minutes to get to the terminal, so it was about 100 minutes, or get to the bag check thing. It was about 100 minutes. By the time I got to go check my bag, it was about 80 minutes, because there was like 20 minutes of standing in line with people that were just like, what? And the thing was like, hey, you can't check your bag here. And I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. They were like, see attendant. So I had to like go down to this area where they had like this movable kiosk where obviously there was a person there checking people's bags. And I'm like, dude, what is going on here? So I get up to that person. We have 70 minutes before the flight takes off. And I get up there and I'm like, it said I needed to check my bag over here. I don't understand why. And the lady behind the movable kiosk was just like, boop. And she just goes, you have missed your flight. That's what she said, word for word. You have missed your flight. And I'm like, I mean, unless somebody around here has some kind of weird, crazy way of reading clocks that I don't know about, that airplane is here. I have not missed my flight. What are you talking about? And the lady, let's make that conversation a little short. Go to the next one. So that lady is like, well, I can't do anything for you, so you need to go over and talk to these people. All right. So I go over, I talk to those people. And the lady at the, customers and services, which I thought was odd. She goes, oh yeah, I could get you on that flight. Let me see your bag. Oh no, your bag's too big. I can't get you on that flight. So then I was like, oh, maybe I could, maybe you could just send the bag ahead. Maybe you could send the bag ahead or behind, put it on a plane. Nope, can't do that anymore. Can't send a bag that you're not with on an airplane unless it's like their own fault, I guess. I guess if they lose your bag, then they can fly it around without you. But they can't send it on a different flight unless you're on there, which I don't really understand. As I guess the idea is to make it a deterrent, so that like, I guess it's supposed to be like a deterrent to. So I guess the reason that they do that is so that people don't bomb the airplane. But I always, my consensus has been like, people that do crazy stuff on airplanes, like, I don't think that they care if they're on it or not if it gets blown up, right? Like, they don't care. They're normally crazy. So I don't understand how it's a deterrent. But that lady says, oh, you can't get on the plane. I can't get you to the plane. No one can get you to the plane. So I'm like, all right, so we showed up here 2 hours early. We got stuck in like 10 minutes of traffic. We come over here. We come over there, wait in all these weird lines, which are ridiculous, by the way. Now, here's the gauntlet. The gauntlet is the lady's like, well, I could get you on a flight tomorrow. My answer to that was no. No, we can't do that. That's not. No. No, I'm not getting on a flight tomorrow. It's not going to happen. Basically been a week away from my family at that point. I was not going I was not going to just stay in the Netherlands another day, inconvenience people, deal with all that kind of crazy stuff, like, get a hotel room like last minute or whatever. I just wasn't going to do any of that. She's like, well, there's no way to get you back. There's no way to get you back. I was like, just get me to the United States. I don't care. Get me to the U.S. I'll figure it out. Like, get me to an airport in the United States. I will get home. So then that lady's like kind of clicking around on her computer, doing all that stuff. Oh, she says, oh, I can get you to Seattle. I'm like, no, I can get you to Seattle, but there's a problem. I was like, okay, what's the problem? And the problem is 380 euro, which is close to $500 US, whatever. And I was like, yeah, let's go. So that plane left a few hours after my original plane. And it flew to San Francisco, which for those people that are not geography wizards out there, that's a couple hour longer flight on that direct flight action. So it's a couple hours later flight. It's a couple hours later landing. Of course, I get to San Francisco, and they have delayed my connecting flight from San Francisco to Seattle because it's not sold out. So they combine two flights. Of course, they combine the later flight. And I don't know if anybody out there travels a lot, but on the reader board at the gate, it'll normally like let you know what's going on, if it's delayed or whatever. And then down at the bottom, it'll normally have the carriers. That means like whatever these like tiny airlines have sold a ticket. They're essentially like a middleman that's like selling a plane ticket on a different flight for the main carrier. And this one literally had like 7 or 8 on there of just like one person, basically. So that flight got delayed a couple hours. So I didn't even get home. So I was supposed to be home in Seattle at like 9:30 Tuesday morning. I got in at, what was it? I got in at 7:30 Tuesday night. And then, of course, you got to drive home, do all that kind of stuff. So I get home late. Olivia was already in bed. Vicky was just here, like being like, "Oh, I'm glad you made it home. It was nice, everything." But she was feeling terrible. They're sick. Everybody's sick here in this house. I'm afraid I'm going to get sick because the next day, okay, take Olivia to daycare. I'm like, all right, I'm going to hit the road. I'm going to hit the ground running. I run all my errands. I come home, I'm filming stuff, I'm trying to edit things, I'm offloading so many SD cards, it's ridiculous. People that are on the Discord chat know that I cleared, just out of one of my hard drives, I cleared 330 gigs out of one of my editing hard drives, right? And that filled up quickly, and so I had to transfer a whole bunch more stuff. And if anybody out there is trying to get to, the Discord, the easy way is just to become a Patreon at like $1 a month, or you can become a member on YouTube. There's a join button on here. Blah blah blah. You guys know the pitch. Whatever. Gotta remember to plug my own damn fundraising thing, right? For trying to get funds to do bigger projects like the Makerspace. So I get back here. I'm doing all that stuff. I'm offloading. I'm getting everything unpacked. I'm putting lenses away. I'm doing all the kind of nonsense. And I'm working on that. And then it's like, okay, well, Vicky was going to pick up Olivia, but she calls me and she's like, I don't have time. I don't have time to pick up Olivia. Can you go grab her? Yeah, no problem. Head over there, go over to pick up Olivia. And by the way, our old daycare, this is the new daycare, so it's the first time I've been there. So I'm kind of like trying to navigate, figure out what's going on, find Olivia, and go in there, get her, take her out, and they're like, oh, hey, you need to fill out basically you have to have like a password to get the baby out. So you have to like fill out a bunch of paperwork and stuff. And again, and then you have like a password so you can sign her out and that kind of stuff. And I needed to program that. So I get that done. And like while I'm trying to program that thing, Olivia just pukes all of the puke that you've ever seen all over me. Like, turn my head, gets in my mouth. Disgusting. It's all over my feet, my shirt, just like half wet. It was crazy. Then she puked some more. Then she puked some more there. I'm like, oh my God. I don't know what's going on here. Olivia, what's the deal? Get her out to the car. I'm like driving her home in my truck. I'm like, I'll get you home. We'll have to change your outfit. I'll have to change and wash up myself, all that stuff. And she is just vomiting like crazy. And it continues throughout the entirety of the night. So, yeah, super jet lagged. Got the baby like vomiting, have to stay up all night. And so yesterday, Victoria is super sick. It's disgusting. Olivia is super sick. My mom, aka Grandma, drives all the way from her house to come help yesterday, which has been amazing help. And by the end of the day yesterday, we realized that like she doesn't have a lot of fluids. She's probably dehydrating at this point. And that's a problem, right? You got to realize that that's a problem. Baby getting dehydrated, they're tiny. It's not like an adult getting dehydrated. It's hard to give them what's called a banana bag, but the IV fluids, that kind of stuff. And like that stuff is pretty dangerous. So we get her to the hospital. Turns out her ear infection is still there. I've been gone in Europe, and they assumed that her ear infection was better while I was gone. Got back. Turns out it's not. It's back again, and plus the puking stuff. So she's on another round of antibiotics, all this kind of stuff. It's just totally, like, out of control. So today I'm, like, wiped out. Don't feel all that great, honestly. I got that jet lag. I got I probably already caught whatever they had. So it's just nonsense. But it definitely is it's nonsense I like dealing with because this is my baby girl. We got a super chat from Joel G with a sticker attached to it. So a big red thumbs up. Well, thank you, Mr. Gillette. But just be really honest with you guys, I'm not feeling that great. And I am personally starting to feel kind of nauseous, so I probably caught whatever Olivia had. So if I just start barfing, don't get mad at me. But I don't feel that great. Alvin Alejo with the $2 super chat. Hell yeah, brother. All right, thanks, man. And the Fish Tank Barn with a $5 super chat saying, welcome back. Congrats on 12K, 25K subs. Yeah, no, thanks to everybody, So, yeah, those are the super chats. So, that's kind of where I'm at. Yeah, I'm just like super tired dad at this point. Like I'm just kind of wiped out and all that stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, the trip was fantastic. Johan is awesome. Big shout out to Johan. Found out that you say his name Joanne. So if I say both in the future, you guys will know why. But Johan makes sense to me. So, it's just kind of one of those things. But Johan and his family were super awesome. That was great. Vivarium is rad. And like I said, I shot a bunch of video of it. So you guys will be able to see that instead of just hearing me talk about it. Went to a ton of stores, toured a bunch of stores, toured a bunch of facilities, some breeders, but I have explicit instructions not to accidentally give away some of the breeders' secrets, so we won't be doing that. But we'll definitely give you an idea of what some of the Dutch breeders are like, which fantastic, accommodating. It's pretty interesting to see that there are just to see like how much cool stuff is going on in the Netherlands as far as fish tanks, plants, aquascaping, all that kind of stuff. They flew in a bunch of people from around. There was some of the famous aquascapers, like David Chow was there, so that, which was cool. It was great to see those. And then they did a ton of nanoscapes. A bunch of people did nanoscapes, which was awesome. And you see Nikki in the chat right there. That's a world famous YouTuber. That's a world famous YouTuber right there. Let me see if I can't go to channel. Can I do that? Oh, I can. There we go. Nope, it sent me to my channel. That didn't work. Well, I tried. But if you see Nikki in the chat, where did she go? She will be in some videos. You guys will have to check that out. That's for sure. There's Johan. He's right there. He's right there in the chat. We also we invaded Johan's work, and we used the electron microscope. We put a bunch of biomedia and stuff like that under the electron microscope. So we definitely have found some really cool kind of little bacteria shots and stuff like that, and whether or not, because one of the biggest questions that I've had is, if something is like super porous, has these tiny holes, can the bacteria even be in there, right? And I think, I wouldn't say that we have a conclusion per se, but I think that we have some good information to, figure out. Johan says, try to stay awake because he knows, like, I was jet lagged, tired, wasn't sleeping, and super, like, I'm tired now, man. I slept 8 hours last night, which is pretty rare for me, and I'm just like sleeping. You know what I mean? So, but we have an interesting question here from the Zen Ginger. I guess it's not like the most interesting because it's kind of about the channel here. So curious to me, says, do you have a preference, channel membership or Patreon membership from your viewers? Just curious. Honestly, I have both because it's convenient for people that watch the channel, right? Obviously, YouTube at this point values people as channel memberships. They've created a paywall. I try not to put too much stuff behind the paywall. A lot of it has to do with the Discord. So you just get access to the Discord because I don't really like having so much of the members only stuff on YouTube per se. Just because, a lot of YouTube was always, you could just watch it, you could just get the content. So I feel like it's a better space to be like, hey, if you want to support the content that you get, the memberships is a good thing. I really don't try to put stuff behind the memberships, but if you join either of them, if you join up on Patreon or on YouTube, you get access to the Discord, which is a 24-hour like IRC style chat. Or there's a bunch of people in the chat room right now. I wonder who's in there right now. Jim's in there, Alana's in there, Alyssa, Big D Smoke, Johan's in there, Pugman, Reaver. There's a whole bunch of people in there. Ricky, I think, we have like 122 people or something like that on the Discord. So it's kind of just our little group, where we're able to like send pictures back and forth and stuff like that and kind of figure out what's going on and do the real-time chat. My stomach is really not feeling good now compared to how it was before, which is weird. That's not good, because I probably feel like I might be coming down with what the baby girl has. So, yeah, I don't know. Let's see. All right, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I have to go to the bathroom real bad. I love you guys. Short show on a Friday, but honestly, I have to go to the bathroom, and I don't think anybody's going to be dealing with that. But I want to say thanks to everybody for supporting the channel, supporting the show for how long. Normally I stay on much longer, but I'm just not feeling good. So I will be back. If not this weekend or anything like that, I will be back on Monday. So Monday, 3 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And yeah, that's going to be it for today. I just am not feeling good and got to go.